welcome to the World of Expletives. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Ron.
This big old episode 30, Ron.
Yes.
Speaking of 30, Mr. Birthday Boy, how you feeling now that you're old?
Well, a few more aches and pains.
So you've been taking your arthritis medication?
Yeah.
I fucking told Ron, Sunday means Sunday, Monday means Monday on the pill bottle. What the fuck are you doing? I looked. I fucking looked.
I see them and I think Skittles. I can't help it.
That's why the hand holding the microphone is shaking right now. Do you understand?
Yeah, I've got a bit of the jitters. Yeah. Jesus
Christ. Well, okay, speaking of your birthday, I actually heard you did go check out The Martian. Is that right?
Yes, I did. On my birthday.
On your birthday. That's a good birthday present.
Yes, and it was really cool because I had just finished the book, so it was all really fresh in my head still, so I'm really in compare and review mode, you know?
Okay, so before we delve into the news, why don't we'll both do a spoiler-free, quick, overall thoughts on The Martian.
Okay, well, first thing is I thought Drew Goddard did a really good job adapting the screenplay. Because I feel like that would not be an easy movie at all to adapt the way that the book is laid out. You know, with the way that they do Watney's lines and his roles versus, like, say, everybody else's.
Yeah, like my whole thing was I don't care when you're doing adaptations, like how much you have to cut, because it's never going to be a direct translation, because obviously...
I mean, you're condensing a 6 to 8 hour read down into
if you put everything in it, it would be a 6 hour movie.
Yeah.
If not more. So, for what he cut, that he had to cut, I thought he did a great job of making the movie still feel like the heart of the book, but... you know, work in movie form.
Yes.
So I thought he did a great job. One quick thing, I thought in some ways the movie actually makes the book even better, because to me, like the NASA characters were sometimes just kind of there. This is not spoilers, but the NASA, I mean, obviously there's fucking NASA characters. It's The Martian. Then when they would cut back to the NASA characters, sometimes you're almost like, okay, cut back to Watney. I want to know what's going on.
Right.
But with the actor choices of Jeff Daniels and Ejiofor and Donald Glover Sean Bean, like, they added a lot more to those people with just the acting. They made them a lot more likable, made their scenes, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there was one or two spots that the quality of acting I felt like took a nosedive, but, I mean, we're talking 10 seconds of scene or something. You know?
Yeah.
And one of them wasn't even the actress's fault, I didn't feel like. It was just
an awkward
the
line.
scene was cut so short that... you know, there was really nothing she could do. I was disappointed that there's two things not included.
No, don't go into spoilers.
I'm not going into spoilers. But my favorite line from the book was not included. But there was another one that was pretty good that they invented. And then one of the many issues he encounters, when I initially saw it, I was disappointed it was not in there. But the more I thought about it, as far as the book goes... he had, you know, it didn't slow him down much. It was a major thing, but it didn't slow him down much.
Bottom line, they made it feel like the book. That's all you can ask for.
Exactly.
That's all you can ask for.
Well, check it out if you haven't seen it.
It was awesome. We will be doing at some point.
I don't even like Matt Damon, and I thought he did a good job.
He was a good Watney.
He fit Watney
and
good.
You talk about hard acting role.
By himself.
Talking to himself or
talking
to a camera.
GoPro or Samsung.
It was very, 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 I mean, you know he did good. You're praising him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fucking shocked right now. I never thought I'd see the day. But yeah, I was going to say we will be doing probably very, very beginning of January sometime. We're going to be doing some top 5 lists. That'd probably be if not in my top 5, close. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be close rankings. Yeah,
I'd have to check my list to see if it would be in my top 5.
Well, we'll probably delve back into The Martian more specifically around that time. But yeah, it actually segues nicely for our first bit of news because, Jesus. Ron, why don't you give us some of the details about some of the headlines regarding this film?
Okay, so this just makes virtually no sense at all. There is a group out there. They call themselves the Media Action Network for Asian Americans. And basically they are accusing Ridley Scott of whitewashing some of the roles of the Martian. The book and the movie, without spoilers, is very heavy on Asian and Asian American characters. and they're upset that those were filled by, I'm going to say quote unquote white people, because one of them that they complain about specifically was whitewashed with a black person. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, right. So you actually knew something about that too. One of the main characters was Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Ejiofor, close.
Ejiofor. Bleh, I'm sure he gets that a lot. Could you imagine middle school with that name?
I couldn't imagine adulthood with that name.
So, but basically, they were upset about him. He was the one that they replaced, and apparently an Asian actor with a black person, and that's considered whitewashing.
Well, the one with him was he was playing. I forget his first name. His last name was Kapoor, right?
Venkat.
He was Venkat Kapoor. I think that was his name. He was in the book. I believe he was an Indian character.
Yeah, and he was. He has a remark in the book that he's Hindu.
And people, they were bitching about, like, even Ejiofor's, but what I read was Ejiofor was actually a replacement of an Indian actor. And the Indian actor couldn't film the movie because of a scheduling conflict. So they didn't even go out of their way to they had an Indian actor for Kapoor.
Do you wonder what that scheduling conflict was, and if it was nearly as good as The Martian?
Probably not. He probably fucked up dearly, but this is just another case of people got to bitch about something.
Yeah,
like,
the other one you could possibly consider whitewashing, but to tell you the truth, I don't remember anywhere in the book them saying that Mindy Park was Korean American.
And they're also kind of defeating their own purpose by pointing out that they were quote unquote being whitewashed, because how does that affect character? And I mean, like you said, like, how did it honestly affect it? Now, the other thing I take issue with this is they're kind of going after Ridley Scott like he's the only person that does this.
Right.
Let's backtrack to The Last Airbender.
Yeah. They actually cite in this article on Variety The Last Airbender.
The Last Airbender. That's one where I think you have an honest to God argument.
Yeah, they cite 21, The Last Airbender, Aloha, Ghost in the Shell, and Doctor Strange.
Which, I mean, we're not even going to get into the Doctor Strange one. That was just, like, really Tilda Swinton. People are going to go after Tilda Swinton's casting. The bottom line is, I mean, and I forget who the writer was, but recently, people are kind of going about when they're writing screenplays and novels, how many times do you actually read and while you're reading part of the character's development, they actually specifically explain what their race is?
Yeah.
Because you can be a completely different character that has nothing to do with your race. It's kind of, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, if we had, like, Justin Long as one of the Chinese space agent guys or something, I mean, yeah. That would definitely be
like when I brought up The Last Airbender, but when they're at the Eskimo village and all the main characters are the only people who are white in the whole village, that's obviously like ridiculous.
Any chance to shit on that movie, huh, Jeff?
Well, I mean, you got it. Like, well, dude,
no,
it's ridiculous.
I'm with you, but
also, the last time I checked, the Fire Nation is not what they are presented in that movie. Like, they completely changed them too. That's for it to bother me at all, it has to be like that egregious. Nothing in The Martian to me, like, we shouldn't even be having this conversation. I just thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and here's something that really pissed me off, and then we're almost done with this section. But there's a quote from whoever the fuck this person is. I don't know if he's... I mean, it's obviously big enough for this group to be talking to the press. But anyways, the quote from him is, was Ridley Scott not comfortable having two sets of Asian Americans talking to each other?
Like he's Hitler. Like,
yeah, exactly. Now, here's the thing. They also go after Ridley Scott, and apparently have in the past, for Exodus, Gods and Kings, for having Christian Bale and Sigourney Weaver cast in roles from, Middle Eastern roles. And they're going after Ridley Scott like he's a racist. Now, if he is or not, I don't know. I've never seen any real evidence that he would be. But here's the other thing that bothers me about this. Number one, he's the director. He's not the director of casting. He's the director of the movie. So he more or less doesn't get a lot of say in casting. Now, on the flip side of that, Ridley Scott has been around long enough and has enough clout that I'm sure if he said, no, get this guy off the fucking set and get me someone else, someone would probably do it. But that would also make headlines because that's a hell of a dick move. So, I mean, it's not like he's in charge of casting.
Yeah, he has.
He does what
say.
the people paying him say to do.
He has a say, and him being the director gives him a lot of access to a lot of high-profile actors like Christian Bale and Sigourney Weaver. So, I don't know. I think this is just such a non-story.
It's something to bitch about, and it's something that was popular enough that it makes press for this group. Is what it is.
That's all. Yeah, that's at the end of the day. That's all they honestly care. But yeah, we're giving them too much time on our own. So.
Yep. No, that's all they're getting from us.
Yeah. So speaking of stupidity, Die Hard 6, the prequel. Jesus,
really?
Dude.
Die Hard 6. Let us die already.
When's the last time Die Hard was good?
4 was decent. I didn't.
3 was very good.
3 was my favorite.
1's still my favorite. 3's close. 4 is okay. I don't think I bothered to watch after 4.
I never saw the 5th one, the one in Russia. I never saw that. So yeah, I don't. To me, 4 is as far as you could stretch it for me.
Okay, they've mentioned prequel. For the love of God, like, who are they trying to cast?
Buzzword.
Who are they trying to cast? Have they said anything?
No. The article that I read said it would be taking place in 1979, and he'd still be like a cop on the beat, basically.
Just come on, Hollywood. Like,
yeah,
we're a broken record. Every freaking week, it's something stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's all the press time that deserves.
Yeah,
it's only in there because it was trending on Twitter before we recorded. So
yeah, let's move on to something we're actually interested in, and that is Guillermo del Toro.
Yes,
he is projected to be working on a black and white indie horror film, and this is slated to go into production before Pacific Rim 2. He's trying to get John Hurt as the lead.
See, you had me at Del Toro, but my ass is in the seat opening day with John Hurt. I fucking love John Hurt.
I love John Hurt too. I also love Del Toro, and he has... It's kind of... Why I think the black and white thing's interesting... It's because a lot of his character design is colorful.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what he'll do when he doesn't have color working for him, and he can go into grays and stuff like that to see what he does.
Yeah, I think one thing it's going to really give him with being black and white is more shadow to work with. So it's going to be really fucking.
I think it'll be very, very cool. I'm really interested in this. And also, more positive things about Pacific Rim 2 is he actually gave a start date for Pacific Rim 2 production. I think it was August of next year. I
think he has reached the point in his career, like we were talking about Ridley Scott a couple of weeks back, can do whatever the fuck he wants at this point.
It's like if he wants it made, it might be delayed, but he's going to make it if he wants it.
Del Toro is hell-bent that Pacific Rim 2 is happening, and he, while it maybe not as big a name as Ridley Scott, dude, he has a finger in every pie out there. He's in video games, he's in TV, he's in movies, and everything he does is generally successful. They may not be the most successful things, but they're still successful enough.
I couldn't even tell you the last time he had a flop.
Yeah, so he's approaching legendary status in Hollywood, I think, and he's throwing some of that weight around for Pacific Rim 2. He wants that movie to happen.
Good on him, man. I can't wait for that movie. But yeah, speaking of sequels potentially happening or not, we reported maybe as recently as the most recent episode about the Terminator Genesis, I guess you'd call it a universe they had going, kind of just shit canned, basically.
I think it was last week because they shit canned the TV show for sure. We know that. And we talked that, we broke, we didn't break it. Someone else broke it and we did it again.
We're important. We'll go with that.
But we talked about how well it had done internationally, and that might have saved that
specifically
franchise.
China.
She says specifically China, and then it turns out, well, no, China's a dick and keeps 3/4 of the box office. So it still made absolutely nothing, even though the numbers were amazing. Now, the article that I was reading today was interesting because basically it said absolutely nothing else. It didn't say that it's happening. It didn't say that it's not happening. But what it did say is that, yes, they cared that the domestic numbers were low, but they were still, decent enough, basically, just barely. And they loved the international numbers. And apparently, I forget what studio it was, but they said that their focus is basically international because everything is international nowadays. So they really love the international numbers, and what this means is that Terminator Salvation, the idea going into it, and it feels this way when you watch the movie, that they were going in trying to create a franchise and a universe. Now, because, buzzword, but the thing is, they still have that aim. So Terminator Salvation did not perform the way they wanted it, underwhelmed, but they didn't shit can the franchise or the ideas they had. What they have done instead is they're going back and researching what it was audiences loved about Salvation and what they did not like. And then they're going in and reworking all the plans that they had. So, according to the article, it sounded more like rather than shit canning it, it is now delayed. They don't know how long.
They can't delay it too long because
people will lose interest.
Well, not even only that, but James Cameron gets the rights.
Yes.
And James Cameron likes money.
Yes.
And people will pay for Terminator.
So
he could have that shit on bidding war for potentially a long ass time. So
yeah, so I don't know how this is going to play out. It's going to be interesting to keep track of. But as far as I can see with what we have learned recently with the box office numbers and things like that, I think it's most likely might as well be shit canned before James Cameron gets the rights back.
I think it's dead.
I think it's dead. At the end of the day, they can talk all they want. Money talks. Yeah.
When it comes to Hollywood, they don't give a flying fuck, dude. You don't think Hollywood is aware that Twilight's bad? They don't give a fuck.
Well, that Firefly was good.
Whatever gets the money or doesn't get the money talks or doesn't. It's just the way it works.
That's the way it is.
It sucks, but it's a business.
In capitalist America.
If it was about quality, we wouldn't have had fucking 4 Transformers movies done by Michael Bay.
Yes.
It's not how it works. But yeah, we got some more sequel updates this time.
More Ridley Scott news.
Yeah, more Ridley Scott. These might actually happen though, unlike Terminator. We've got some updates for Alien and the Prometheus sequel. So yeah, take it away, Ron. You have more details on this one than I do.
This surprised me. Okay, here's the thing. Ridley Scott's known for one other aspect, and that is when he wants to do a movie, especially one he's excited about, he can crank it out, and it's not a steaming pile when he does. So
everyone else would totally disagree because everyone else hates Prometheus, but
right. But if he wants a movie done and done fast, he can get it done fast, and usually everything he does hits big. So here's the thing. What to really take away from this article that I'm looking at right now is there is apparently a slim chance that near the end of 2016 we could already have the Prometheus sequel, which is Paradise Lost. That is fucking ridiculous. Now there are other hints that what be happening instead is also a bit ridiculous, and that is instead of it happening in late 2016, we could have both. Was it Blomkamp? Is that how you say his name?
Neil Blomkamp, yeah.
We could have both his Alien 5 movie and the Prometheus 2 sequel in the same year, 2017.
As long as they space them out, they'll still make a shit ton of money.
But is that not crazy?
Yeah,
we could get 2 Alien movies in the same year?
As long as they're properly spaced out, like Marvel does it all the time. Like Marvel will put a movie out in May, like this year,
but
and then
Jeff,
in July.
They don't do Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron in the same year.
That's true, but this is it's not like they're doing... it's gonna have Alien in the title for the Prometheus sequel, but Prometheus, although it is in the Alien universe, does kind of feel different, at least to me. It's not as similar as doing like how you pointed out, like Avengers and Age of Ultron. To me, they're a little bit farther apart in like what they're doing with the film. I don't know. I mean, shit. I'll be watching both regardless. They can throw them out as long as they're good, as long as they're not rushed. That's all I care about.
Yeah. So
probably more. Probably I like Prometheus. Probably more interested in the Blomkamp Alien 5 just because I want to see a fresh eye on it, and I really like District 9, so I'm really interested in that one.
Also, something you might find interesting, which is straight out of
I'll be the judge of that.
Straight out of Do Bear Shit in the Woods department, is Ridley Scott has revealed an interesting tidbit about the Prometheus sequel, Paradise Lost. And that is apparently we're getting a whole new crew of explorers to follow in this movie. And I'm guessing the number one reason for that is all but one of them fucking died in the first one.
The hell you say? I know Ridley Scott is all about just having people in space talking to themselves. That's the new thing.
And we already reported before that yes, Michael Fassbender is most likely returning, and
I thought he was already like contractually obligated to come back.
He may have been. I don't know. But Ridley Scott said he's already figured out a way to, reattach the head to a body. So
yeah. So spoilers.
I'm thinking Android just download himself into a new one.
Like, dude, freaking Fassbender could be the head flopping around, and he'd still be like Oscar caliber.
Yeah, I was gonna say he would still like make the movie.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to another legendary director in Hollywood, and that is Steven Spielberg. I forget what event he was at, but he kind of casually dropped that. Oh yeah, it was having to do with Tom Hanks. Because he's having a new movie come out with Tom Hanks, and he was joking about how he was going to be tying Harrison Ford for the most Spielberg appearances in one of his films. So he's like, "Well, Harrison's coming back for Indy 5, so he'll beat out Tom at that point." Totally bullshitting. And
I'm sure that broke the internet, though.
Yeah, if you put freaking Harrison,
just like the picture of him with the Triceratops from Jurassic Park, and everyone thought it was animal cruelty and him big game hunting and stuff, and it's a fucking dinosaur.
Yeah. That freaking picture.
That was my favorite internet moment ever.
But yeah, I mean, anything Indiana Jones is going to hit big. But we still don't know what the shit's going on with Indiana Jones, honestly. They've been rumored, like, back and forth like a freaking crazy, like, what they want to do, what they don't want to do.
Well, they didn't even know what they wanted to do when they announced it. They just announced, hey, we have the rights, so we're going to do one.
It's going to happen. We just don't know like what type of indie thing we're going to get. My hope is it's a reboot with a new actor, and one of the reasons I added this to our Carl, you don't.
Did I just throw the gauntlet? The way you looked at me.
You wouldn't want to see. We've always like Carl Urban, Indiana Jones.
Yes, but does it need to be a reboot?
Well, what would you call it if it's a new actor?
Well, I would. It doesn't have to be a reboot. Just change the actor. 007 doesn't reboot every time.
I mean, I guess
they did with Daniel Craig.
I mean, when I say reboot, I mean technically, if you're changing, I would almost consider it, even if it's still in the same universe and they're not rebooting it back to square one. If it's an actor change and like 30 years later, like, I mean,
I don't know. I still think like the way the books do and everything,
it's a soft reboot.
They just drop into a different year and just follow another one of his adventures, basically.
Because I mean, when I say. Like, technically, you could almost consider Crystal Skull is a reboot in some capacity because they were trying
only because they rebooted it into Tarzan,
into Shia LaBeouf for monkeys.
Yeah,
but okay,
Shia of the Jungle.
One of the reasons I added this because they had a casting idea for an Indiana Jones.
I am all on board with this.
They brought up on Nerdist Bradley Cooper, which I hadn't thought of, but I like it a lot.
Yeah,
and it's also a little more fathomable because we've always brought up Carl Urban, but Carl Urban isn't as A-list as Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
Bradley Cooper is one that could actually happen that would be good.
And everyone that speculates anything usually throws around Chris Pratt.
Which I would rather have him be Han Solo, I think, than
see,
Indiana
here's
Jones.
the thing with Chris Pratt. Real quick, I have no doubt in his acting ability. I just want to get that out there. But I am not on board with him being Indiana Jones because Chris Pratt is a super nice guy, and that comes through in his acting. Every role he plays, he just feels like a super nice guy when he plays it, even when he's being a douchebag. Like some of his douchebag moments in Guardians of the Galaxy, he still comes across as a very nice guy. And Indiana Jones is kind of a dick.
I think that's being a little unfair because we've seen how many roles total from Chris Pratt, and he's always playing, to some extent, a lovable dude. I think if you told him you are playing a serial killer, I think he could do it.
I don't know.
If you can,
I'm not saying he's one note, but
first of all, if you can do comedy, typically you can do anything.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever heard the Joss Whedon quote, it is 110% accurate. He was like, "I can teach a comedic actor how to have a dramatic scene. I cannot teach a dramatic actor the comedy timing."
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, if you're able to do comedy as well as Chris Pratt, I think if you had him, the problem is we're not going to get to a point anytime soon of seeing him in a role like that because everyone loves Chris Pratt, so they're going to keep throwing him in like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Because it sells.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to make a whole... I would like to see the Chris Pratt serial killer movie, but that's not going to make as much money as Jurassic Park.
Even in that, he was kind of Han Solo-ish in the way that he talked, and like the way he acted to the characters was supposed to... I felt like it was written to be more douchebaggy than it was, and he was just more lovable because of the way he's turned. And like I said, I don't know how to say this without making it sound like I'm saying he's one note. I'm not saying that. But I don't know. I don't know how to say it.
You're saying he can't help but be lovable,
yeah.
And I think depending on what he's...
While Indiana Jones, the character, that Harrison Ford portrayed, is kind of lovable, it's because he's a dick is why he's lovable.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I mean, I
think Bradley Cooper can do that much more convincingly than Chris Pratt could.
I think Bradley Cooper will be better, but I do think Chris Pratt, if they ended up picking him, I wouldn't be upset. I
wouldn't be upset if it was Chris Pratt, but this is one of my childhood characters that I love, and I think Bradley Cooper may even look more like the role, and I think he's more... I don't know the age difference between Chris Pratt and Bradley Cooper because I didn't research this at all before I came in. I come prepared to this show. But I think Bradley Cooper looks older, which I feel like Indiana Jones should look a little bit older than what Chris Pratt looks.
Yeah.
So, I'm totally on board with this, but like I said, I'm watching it either way. I don't care who they fucking get.
What's going to happen, though, is Chris Pratt is going to be either Han Solo or Indiana Jones.
Or both.
Well, I don't even know if they would go that far.
Harrison Ford did it.
But, I mean, it's a different, it's a little bit different landscape. Because, how many actors were there even to choose from back then?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
And I've always heard the main reason for Indiana Jones, anyway, was because the audience wanted more Han Solo.
Well, originally, Harrison Ford wasn't even... Tom Selleck was actually casted as Indiana Jones.
Jesus Christ, that's a...
And you know why he ended up not being Indiana Jones?
Why?
Scheduling conflicts with Magnum P.I. He wouldn't leave the show.
Who knew that show would be useful for something?
So, yeah, shit, man. We almost got...
That's about as big a bullet as Nicolas Cage's Superman.
I wouldn't go that far, because I've seen the costume for Nicolas Cage's Superman, but, we wouldn't be talking about Indiana Jones 5 or reboot if fucking Magnum P.I. happened. But yeah, we spent like 20 minutes talking about this, so we're going to move on to some more casting.
Speaking of casting... not much to say on this one, other than it just utterly scares me because they're actually moving forward with this project. Power Rangers reboot. We have our first casting announcement, and that is the Pink Ranger, which is Naomi Scott. Now, you may have heard of Naomi Scott because you just IMDb'd her. But she is apparently in The Martian, somewhere in the background. And that's
somewhere in the whitewashed background.
And she's not even white, technically speaking. She's like half white or something. But yeah, that's the biggest thing she's been in.
And we couldn't even tell you who the fuck the character was because it was such a small bit role.
Yeah, it was Ryoko. Okay. She's not in the book.
I'm going to back up a second real quick. The kids still fucking watch Power Rangers? Who is this movie for? Because you know the people who are even that familiar with Power Rangers are like you and our friend Philip.
I'm 30.
And what's going to happen is when you make this Power Rangers reboot, like 9 times out of 10, you guys are going to be pissed about it.
Now,
so it's like, who's it for?
There are some tones that they are kind of setting in their images they release that I hope it is. I understand they can't go like gritty dark with it, like Game of Thrones it, but which would be fucking fantastic if they did. But the big cartoony looking logo with the giant ass yellow lightning bolt. That lightning bolt is black and silver in all of their stuff. To me, that totally changes the tone of what the movie could be. But I don't think they're going to go dark and gritty with it. I think at worst it'll probably be Guardians of the Galaxy level, which if you think about the story of that, it's pretty dark.
Okay.
It's just lighthearted dark.
Do they have any, like, is there a director associated with this? Like, what is going on with this?
I believe there was, actually. Let me see. Let me IMDb this real quick. I didn't mean to spend this much time on it, but since you're asking questions, Jeff, I'm
just this movie confuses me because I watched Power Rangers as a kid. I loved it as a kid, but it wasn't something that carried over. And this is just something that's strange. I don't know who the audience is.
Dean Israelite. That doesn't sound whitewashed either. The screenplay I thought was by one of the Transformers people. Okay, well, Thor was one of the screenplays, and X-Men First Class.
Okay, that's
actually not bad. Dean.
I recognize nothing he's done.
Israel. Well, Project Almanac I'm familiar with. I didn't see it. But that's a time traveling movie that was just out recently. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, he's basically an unknown besides Project Almanac. I'm okay with that. I think mostly all unknowns is the way to do this movie, to be honest.
I'm not convinced this movie's ever going to happen. I just that's just the vibe I get.
Well, release date's 2017 January.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if like frickin' Ridley Scott writes down, I'm going to do a frickin' reboot of Barney the Dinosaur, that's technically in production on IMDb.
Let's see, another one, Zach Stentz. He's also Thor in First Class.
I don't know.
So they've got some strong writing credits. And then I'm going to guess we're going to go pretty much all unknowns on the Rangers themselves. I would really like to see, one, if they're actually rebooting the franchise and kind of following the overall story, that means we get Rita Repulsa for the first villain. So to me, they're in it, in such a small amount of time anyway. I'd like to see some kind of big name attached for Rita Repulsa and for Zordon. I think you see those characters few enough. Maybe Goldar, but maybe an unknown for Goldar.
I don't think they're going to have the budget to be able to... I mean, and it's like... people are going out of their way to get attached to comic book movies at the moment. I'm not sure people are going to be going out of their way to get attached to Power Rangers. Like,
I don't know. This is... kind of there.
The first person they announced was like 50th on the Martian's casting list. I don't think they're going to be able to pull high profile with this.
I don't know. It depends on a lot of different factors, honestly. I was trying to look at what company is doing this. Surely
I think this is one of those that's jumped around so many times. IMDb might not even know.
The tagline currently, I hope this is a working tagline, is back to action. I don't know, man. Oh, Lionsgate.
Okay.
And Saban Entertainment is back. So, and they had the original rights. So, I don't know, man.
We'll see. This is...
I think...
okay. Well, let's just really quick before we move on. Do you think it's going to happen? You think we'll see that in theaters?
I think it will happen. I think it'll be in theaters.
I don't think it will happen. That's my thoughts.
I think what's most likely going to happen is it's going to start out strong and then tank halfway through production and then make it to theaters. I don't think it'll be a good movie. I think it'll have a lot of production problems.
What I see from all the vibes I'm getting from that is it kind of screams the Dragon Ball live action movie, where they're just kind of desperately scramming around while they still have the rights. Here's the thing.
Like I said right before we move on, you got to remember, America has already done one Power Rangers movie. That was the Ivan Ooze movie. And I know it was kind of in the age of Power Rangers, so it did really well, but I mean, it's still, it's Power Rangers, it was the 90s, but it's still fairly strong if you look at other movies at the period. and other comic book movies at the period. It
it
compares really well.
It's probably better than a lot of the comic book movies of the 90s.
X-Men First Class was an outstanding movie. And it was a comic book movie, and we have those writers on this movie. So I think it stands a fairly good chance. And, Power Rangers kind of lost its way after Lost in Space because Lost in Space ended everything Power Rangers. Kind of like, Dragon Ball Z ended, and then some fucktard decided to do GT. The original creator wasn't even involved in it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened after Space.
They must still be getting good toy sales from children and good... Because it's still on, isn't it?
Dude,
in a different, it's just a different name.
In the age where you can take a comic book, rip what's on the page out, throw it in the movie, costumes and all, and people love it, I think you can make this work. I think it's been long enough since the other Power Rangers movies that you can make this work if it's done right. But I think there's a very slim chance they'll do it right.
Yeah, I think it's a slim chance we see it in theaters, and if it is,
I think it's going to depend really strong on Red Ranger, whatever villain they do, and if they do Green Ranger, who they do Green Ranger. I think that's what is going to make it.
I don't think at the end of the day anyone's going to be happy with that movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see though. We spent way too much time on Power Rangers. We got to move on. This was some casting that was kind of made me scratch my head. Apparently, people were throwing around some casting rumors for Boba Fett.
Okay.
And first of all, in my mind, why? Boba Fett, I want to see like a solo movie done of him, and I think they'll want to have an actor. But
an actor is generally good
when I think Boba Fett, no, like the person they were throwing around was Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
And
where do I know that name?
Michael B. Jordan, he was... I'm trying to think of what you would have seen him in. You haven't seen Chronicle. Did you see the trailers for the new Creed movie where he's playing in the Rocky spinoff?
Oh, wait. Is that the one at the very end Sylvester Stallone walks in the boxing movie? I've seen the trailer for that once, and I was like, no thanks.
He's the lead in that. He was in Chronicle. He's a very good actor, but nothing about him screams Boba Fett to me, even a little bit. And also, like... My whole thing with Boba Fett is he should have the helmet on for the most movie because Boba Fett's kind of iconic in his imagery, where this was just nothing about this at the moment is making me kind of have hope in this because when I see Han Solo's thing has the Lego Movie guys attached to it, it's probably going to have Chris Pratt attached to it, if not someone else really good for the role. Boba Fett, it seems like they don't know what to do, and that worries me because they have everything sitting there for them to make a badass Boba Fett movie, but it feels like they don't know how to go about it, and I just thought that was kind of worrisome because just bring back the dude's voice. Like, he had an awesome voice already. Just bring back the voice. You know? I don't know. I guess, I mean, with that one, I literally have no idea.
You're more attached than I am, so I don't really know what to add here.
Well, you're just in general not as attached to. You're more attached to Power Rangers than you are Star Wars. Honestly,
probably that's probably true.
And podcast is over. Okay, we're gonna move on to the comic book section of the news.
Yes,
and this one was pretty awesome.
Yes.
And a few episodes ago, at some point, we talked about The Killing Joke, how it was going to be adapted from the really, really famous Alan Moore graphic novel into an animated movie directed by. And executive produced by Bruce Timm, and they had gotten basically both Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill back on board to do
Bruce Timm, Kevin Conroy, and Mark Hamill. Jeff, can this get any better?
Well, at New York Comic Con, they showed that it can because DC gave them permission to make it the first rated R Batman movie, which is fucking awesome news.
Dude.
And if they ever needed it for one, it is this one because I didn't ever go into any spoilers and I still won't. But what makes this rated R isn't violence. Yeah. It is dark, disturbing imagery that happens somewhat off-screen, but it's dark.
I don't read any of the comics, and this is one I've always wanted to read.
This is one I cannot wait for. But for them to announce this at New York Comic Con
with that announcement, I will probably read the comic after the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
with that announcement. That is big, dude.
And
a rated R animated movie.
They didn't. Well, just Radar or Batman in general, we've never gotten that.
Yeah.
Like, the darkest they've probably ever gotten is
Batman 89 when he kills like 40 people.
probably. I was gonna say maybe kind of Dark Knight Returns. There's some darker subject material going on in that. Dark Knight, kinda with the Heath Ledger Joker stuff, but it's really not like this kind of dark that I'm referring to. But yeah, I can't wait for that. They didn't officially announce it as R, but it's just them announcing it at New York Comic Con. They have permission. Is to me basically an announcement because they wouldn't.
That doesn't mean that they will.
I don't think
they are greenlit to go.
I don't think they would have talked about it being an option if it wasn't what they wanted to do.
Right.
But yeah, we're gonna move on to the next comic book news, and that is that one of our other favorites in the industry, Bryan Cranston. This is one of those things, kind of like Haley Atwell as the Doctor in Doctor Who, and Idris Elba as James Bond. If these people come out and say they want to do it, sign them up. He said multiple outlets he wants to be a Marvel villain. His quote, I'm gonna paraphrase it. He said he wants to be a Marvel villain, someone nasty. That was actually what he said.
Yes.
The one he mentioned was
someone enjoyed Heisenberg.
The one he mentioned was Mr. Sinister, which would be really cool, but I would rather him be in the MCU. That's an X-Men villain.
Yeah.
Which
would be Fox.
It would be really cool to see Mr. Sinister, but I would rather, if you're going to use him for something, I'd rather him be a bigger bad in like the MCU. I think
if anyone's going to use him, please, for the love of God, don't waste him.
Yeah,
don't Christopher Eccleston him. Don't use him, please.
Dude, in my opinion, use him for the Netflix stuff. You can get more out of him on the Netflix stuff than you can
easily.
Yeah, especially people love their Breaking Bad.
Dude, use him as someone in the Punisher spinoff they talked about. Could you imagine John Bernthal versus Heisenberg?
Yeah, they could use him there. They could end up using him as a main villain in their like Avengers type crossover in the shows. Yeah, they could do a lot with him. We've got one other bit of we have two other bits of Marvel news to get to really quick. Ant-Man officially has a sequel. It is titled Ant-Man and the Wasp, due out July 6th, 2018. Awesome.
Yes.
Love Ant-Man.
Love that Wasp costume at the end
it
of
looks
Ant-Man.
Very cool. Another costume. Like, every freaking costume in that movie has no business working, and they all look amazing.
I was going to say, how can Wasp look that good?
Yellow Jacket looked like intimidating. Ant-Man looked really cool.
Yellow Jacket was terrifying.
It looked awesome.
Especially the voice modulator in that suit.
So, yeah, more Ant-Man officially on the way. That's awesome. What is not probably going to be on the way, potentially, is Inhumans. That's the next news article.
Now, it's important to note that this is all rumors, and the rumors are different depending on what sources you look at, and canceled or not canceled depending on what sources you look at. So basically no one knows what the fuck, but we thought it was worth mentioning because we've never really talked about an MCU cancellation before.
And one that I believe they've actually showed like their logo of, like, that's,
yes, they have.
They've had plenty, like for instance, they've planned and canceled and planned and canceled like Hulk sequels, like a lot. But it's not like we ever got a title and logo for a Hulk sequel that got canceled. This is like a first time for them. They are usually fucking like 15 years in advance, set in stone almost. So
I mean, it would be going from confirmation to cancellation, which is something they haven't done. So that's why we thought it was worth mentioning. But basically, the gist of what I've been getting from what I've been reading, because I'm more into the Inhuman stuff than you are on S.H.I.E.L.D., so I was all for this movie. But it turns out, apparently the MCU and the TV side of it do not play nice together, and they're considered, I guess, totally different divisions. So what was happening, or what is believed to be happening, I'm not sure which one, is there are certain aspects to the Inhumans franchise that S.H.I.E.L.D. is allowed to use, and then the other ones they can't touch. And then it's vice versa for the movie.
So they even have in-house rights conflicts? Yes. That's really weird.
Yeah, and it's really odd, because remember, the MCU movie stuff is basically the only thing that is kind of an offshoot off to itself now under Kevin Feige's control. So the TV side is still kind of a general part of Marvel Studio. So yeah, apparently they don't get along very well, and the rumor had it that they were, at odds with each other so much that it kind of pushed them to cancel the Inhumans movie. Now, at the bottom of that very same article that led me on my witch hunt through if this is canceled or not, was the author of this article knows someone from another news source that they didn't name. That's how I know it's another news source. That knows a Marvel insider. So I know a person who knows a guy who can talk about this.
Yeah.
And it was Marvel Studios was very shocked to learn that their movie was canceled through all these other sources. In other words, what? We're canceling it? So
yeah, it's easy. Like the shit like this can snowball really quickly.
So who knows? It's probably someone made some snide remark and then someone caught wind of it and rolled with it. But I think it's very unlikely that it's canceled, especially how hard they're pushing Inhumans and S.H.I.E.L.D. this season. I think it's very unlikely that it's
probably
canceled.
very unlikely because it's un-MCU of them to do, but I think it is possible because I have always from the get-go said I thought it was kind of odd that they had Inhumans going like now in S.H.I.E.L.D., but that was like the furthest away movie. Mm-hmm. I always found that kind of strange because one thing we've always talked about is it's hard for them to reintroduce Coulson because you've now got like, almost going on 3 seasons worth of backstory to get you up to date. So if you have potentially the same thing going for Inhumans, like that's also kind of awkward for them to reposition them back into a movie.
If the TV side and the MCU side don't play nice together, who knows what that movie would actually be? It might not even be the same actress playing Daisy.
Well, I mean, but even like the general idea of it still needs to be in the MCU, which even if the companies don't like each other, in the MCU, which S.H.I.E.L.D. is, Inhumans has been used.
Yeah.
So it is set in stone in the universe because they don't like retcon their own stuff in the middle of it. So, yeah, so it was originally, if it happens...
That's 2019.
4 years out.
Right?
That's a long time in the movie. Because how many MCU movies will we have by the time that happens? What, like 25? Like
and
it feels like
assuming S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't ever get canceled in that time, we will have, 3 to 4 more seasons.
Yeah,
S.H.I.E.L.D. before we get there.
I've always found it kind of odd, and I think you're right. I think it's unlikely. I do think it's possible because I've always kind of gotten a strange vibe off of Inhumans in general in the MCU of what they're...
It could just be they're doing a 4-year screen test to see how audiences react to Inhumans on S.H.I.E.L.D.
If there's legitimacy to it, it didn't last very long because they were only like, a few episodes into...
I think another reason they'll keep it going is they don't have the rights to X-Men, and that is more or less a ripoff of X-Men.
Basically.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, like everything else, we have no freaking clue until we get official confirmation from Feige. We don't really know, but yeah.
Here's something we do know.
Jessica Jones is gonna be fucking awesome. That's what we know, Ron.
Yes. It'll be fucking fantastic.
It's like every day they have an awesome trailer come out. The most recent one is the now famous David Tennant one where we get our first taste of the Purple Man.
Yes, and it released the same day our episode last week did, which means we'd already recorded. Which means by the time we're done with this recording, we might have a new trailer. So
it takes David Tennant 5 seconds of voiceover to make you forget he was ever the Doctor, and that is impressive.
That is the most sinister I think I've ever heard anyone on TV, dude. I cannot wait. If you have not checked this trailer out,
watch all of the Jessica Jones trailers.
Watch all of the Jessica Jones trailers first and foremost. But if you only watched one and you have doubts about this show, please search YouTube for Jessica Jones Purple Man teaser. And any doubts you have about the show will be turned around in an instant.
David Tennant should only be villains from now on. I'm going to call that now.
Yes.
I haven't even seen him officially, and I've just heard him.
Yeah, it's a Purple Man teaser, and you still don't even see him. You just get the voiceover. And it's also, some people were big on this for some reason. It's also the official face reveal for Jessica Jones also. We've only seen the back of her head, mostly.
And her crushing alarm clocks.
And her crushing alarm clocks and general awesomeness. If you've watched Breaking Bad, you've already had the face reveal spoiled for you. So
you should know.
That part wasn't too big for me.
Yeah, they casted her like a year ago.
Yeah. So, but the David Tennant stuff. Oh my god!
Watch it. But yeah, we have one more Marvel Netflix trailer to talk about, and that is Daredevil Season 2 had one leak from, I'm guessing, New York Comic Con.
Yes, it leaked from New York Comic Con, and then shortly after they saw the leak, they released it on their Facebook page.
The trailer, it's a full-on teaser. They don't really have much going on. The main takeaway from it is we get a lot of familiar images of Foggy and Matt and Karen, the main characters from Season 1. But we get our first glimpses and imagery of the Punisher, which was the main draw for the trailer and why it's out. You get some really cool imagery of the skull via an X-ray, which was cool. It was a cool little idea.
Yeah.
And then you get you never see his face. You see behind Bernthal walking, there's like a hospital or something. Yeah. And then he whispers bang. And it's just such a cool little, like, dude, seriously, I love their movies. My heart is with these shows now. Like, I have, cause it's seriously like, if you had to pick one, would you rather, right now, if I gave you Civil War or Jessica Jones Season 1 and Daredevil Season 2, which would you watch?
Just give me Jessica Jones Season 1 and
just Jessica Jones. Yeah, exactly. Like, I love the movies, but they give you so much to delve into on these shows that's the main draw of theirs for me. But yeah, not to say the movies are bad. Love the movies, but these shows just are fantastic. Another fantastic show is The Flash, and we got some new news on The Flash this week.
I'm pretty excited for this. I didn't even know about this till I saw the notes you sent me.
Mark Hamill, who portrayed the Trickster in Season 1 of The Flash, was a callback
and the original Flash.
Yeah, it was a callback to the John Wesley Ship show of the 90s, where he played the original Trickster. He will be returning as the character in Season 2.
They used him in like a Hannibal Lecter kind of role in Season 1, so it'll be interesting to see what they do this time.
And the Flash has done such a good job on the bad guys.
And if I don't care what you think of the Trickster or anything like that, Mark Hamill is generally everyone's favorite Joker. And if you think the Joker laugh he has is creepy as it is, he uses part of the Joker laugh for the Trickster laugh.
But watching him do it is just like...
Watching him do it and in real life and not a cartoon is just fucking creepy. That voice should not come out of a real human face, dude.
Yeah, speaking of another callback, the X-Files will actually be using their original opening credits. I thought this was very cool. Because... you and I are not like
diehard... Could you imagine the nostalgia porn for the major fans of that show?
Yeah, I was going to say, you and I aren't even big X-Files fans. Anyone familiar with sci-fi even a little bit knows their theme song.
Yes.
And they have a very iconic theme song. They have a very iconic credit sequence, which is crazy considering the show was last on in like 1999 or like 2000, 2001, in that range.
See, and it shocked me it even went that long. I didn't even know it I didn't even know it realized. I didn't even realize that it went on that long.
It was on. I think they ended up having like over 200 episodes. It was
good lord.
They had a long run, but yeah, very very cool. Very, very cool callback for their fans, and people are going apeshit for X-Files, dude. I'm actually wanting to kind of get caught up on it in time, because X-Files, by all rights, should be like directly up my alley.
Yes.
So yeah,
I might be. I've never seen one.
Might be giving some Netflix time to X-Files. This next story,
straight out of the what the fuck department.
This next story, I literally just wanted to add because I thought, just. The fuck? Okay. A&E.
Yes.
This was on Nerdist, by the way, this article.
Oh, God. This made it to Nerd Tits?
This made it to Nerd Tits. So, my takeaway is this. On A&E, they are apparently doing a special where they will be burying people alive. That's
why.
That's
Ryan Reynolds has already been there, done that.
That's where it's come for like the A&E like History Channel. Like, it's gone downhill. And unfortunately, it's not even like cast members of Duck Dynasty that they're burying.
So, does anyone ever dig them up?
No, they're just
they're just done. They're just done.
Spoiler alert: they're dead.
They can't even. They just gotta be buried.
They never could.
I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, it was just one of those words. It was just one of those things where it was just like, really, like fucking Almost Human got canceled. Firefly got canceled. Constantine got canceled. What are we fucking watching? People getting buried alive on television.
3 great shows canceled. 3 people. This is the show's funeral.
Can they be like the Fox producers that they're being like? They got to give me a reason to watch them get married. But yeah, that's all.
If it's the Fox producers, I'm all over this.
Right. On their tombstone, it's just like, he who canceled Firefly. Okay, well, that's all for the TV section. We've got one more news article to get to before we head on out for the day, and that is in gaming. Not a whole lot of gaming news. We did have one that I found interesting, though. I'm sure you're familiar with this, Ron, but the Battlefront beta for this new Star Wars game hit, and holy shit, did it hit big. It hit record numbers for a beta.
Did it really?
9 million plus played just the beta. Now, last time I checked, that game costs $60 when it comes out. If half of them buy it.
That is insane.
How much money did they just make off of Battlefront?
As much as they can print.
Dude, the crazy thing is that's just half.
It's going to make its money back opening day, isn't it? Release day.
Dude, probably make it like freaking opening hour at that rate. I didn't get to play it. I intentionally stay away from betas usually because I like to have the full gaming experience instead of like
potentially broken.
Not essentially, like, from what I heard, it actually
betas are pretty solid, but
apparently this one wasn't, a colossal, piece of shit, like, and was broken, but it was not the finished product.
It wasn't Street Fighter.
I like to play it when it's complete and then kind of judge it then.
Right.
It's also, I kind of also like having the excitement of playing the game for the first time when it's, opening day, when it's completed, and I don't know. That's just me. Are you ever participate in betas for games that often?
No, not really.
We don't even really participate in completed games, to be honest.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I have a PTR account for Diablo, but that's about it.
Just because it's freaking Diablo.
Yeah, it's just more Diablo.
You have like Diablo tattooed to your forehead like Joker style.
Pretty much.
You got like Tyrael.
At least mine's in the Diablo font.
Yeah, you were more legitimate than they were with the Joker. Yeah, I think that's going to be a wrap up of all of our news. It was kind of a slow news week. I think we ended up talking about Power Rangers and Bradley Cooper for like 45 minutes of this, it felt like, but
that's fine.
That's fine. Whatevs. All right, if you guys would like to follow us more, we are on social media. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/TWBE podcast.
Like us.
Twitter at TWBE podcast. Follow us there. We are on YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. We are attempting to be more regular about Let's Plays. We had a couple... I'm still not over that. We had a couple of Let's Plays get corrupted and jacked up, and it's really depressing. But we will
bring it up. Please, I'm going to cry.
We will be... uploading some more Dark Souls that we did manage to get recorded and not fucked up, so look for those. We did some Transformers Devastation videos, got some Freddy's up. We're trying to be more regular about the Let's Plays like we are with the podcast. We've been pretty good about getting the podcast out, but we slacked on Let's Plays for a while, so we're trying to be better about that. We have the podcast up on iTunes and Stitcher. If you find us on iTunes, you can actually leave us a review on there. We will accept 4 or 5 stars only. And did I miss anything, Ron?
I believe that's it.
I believe that is all for today.
Oh, we're going to plug the Halloween stuff?
Yeah, why not? We are going to be, we are both big Halloween fans. We will be having like a Halloween week of specialized content, horror games, horror movies, horror commentaries, might be ranking some all-time favorite horror films, a little bit of everything. Look for us the week of Halloween. And I am Jeff.
I'm Ron.
We will see you next time.